The rooftop buzzed with energy, a blend of laughter, clinking glasses, and the faint hum of the city below. Marketing executives in tailored suits and designer dresses mingled, cocktails in hand, their conversations a mix of strategy talk and casual banter. The warm glow of string lights crisscrossed above, reflecting off glassware and casting soft shadows across the terrace. Hannah floated through it all like she belonged on a stage, her confidence magnetic, her smile effortless, commanding attention without effort. I lingered near the bar, tracing condensation on my glass, savoring the quiet anonymity of a club soda while everyone else toasted and posed for photos. Mom had cornered me earlier with her usual insistence, insisting that family presence was mandatory. "Show her you care, Alex," she had urged. I had nodded, though my stomach twisted at the thought of the spotlight. Hannah lifted her flute again, and the chatter softened. "Thank you all for being here," she said, her voice bright but steady. "This promotion, it's the culmination of years of hard work, late nights, and endless pitches. VP at 34, finally, all the effort validated." Applause erupted, a tidal wave of congratulations. Her colleagues clinked glasses, and Martin Chin, her boss, raised his hand in approval. Hannah's ingenuity transformed our department. Retention rates up 47%. Innovative campaigns, brilliant execution, she's indispensable. Cheers, laughter, and camera flashes surrounded her. Then, inevitably, Hannah turned toward me. "Now, some of you know my sister Alex is here," she said, gesturing vaguely, almost dismissively. "Alex couldn't quite navigate corporate life. She spends her days at home on her laptop. But hey, different paths, right?" A few polite chuckles emerged from the crowd, mixed with a faint undercurrent of pity. One colleague leaned forward, curiosity overtaking decorum. "What exactly does she do?" he asked, loud enough for the nearest tables to hear. Hannah's laugh was airy, almost condescending. "Honestly, we're not really sure. Something with tech, freelance coding or website projects, maybe. Mom worries constantly, no steady income, no benefits, no real career path, but Alex seems content in her own little bubble." Content. The word lingered in my mind like a quiet accusation. They assumed my life was unstructured, a leisurely escape rather than the product of relentless focus, 9 years of 18-hour days building something tangible, something meaningful. I peeked at my phone. My CFO's message blinked, "Acquisition papers filed with E goes public tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Media embargo lifts simultaneously. Congratulations, boss." I typed back, a simple acknowledgement, "Perfect." Hannah's boss approached, extending a polite hand, the social obligation written across his smile. "Alex, right? Hannah mentioned you work in tech. What company?" "I run a SaaS platform," I said, neutral, letting the words hang in the warm night air. "B2B marketing, automation, analytics." His eyes lit with mild interest. "Oh, nice, small startup. We actually use several marketing tools here at TechVision." I nodded, not needing to elaborate. The city skyline glittered behind us, lights stretching for miles, a reminder that worlds can exist side by side, the one I'd built from scratch, and the one she celebrated tonight, both luminous in their own way, though only one had taken root through relentless effort. Always intriguing to encounter new faces in the industry, I thought, catching a glimpse of a sharply dressed man discussing strategies with a group of young professionals. "Something like that," I murmured in response to his brief nod. He smiled faintly and drifted off, leaving a ripple of energy in his wake. Hannah, ever opportunistic, swooped in immediately, her lips curving into a practiced grin that barely concealed a hint of impatience. I attempted to circulate, weaving between clusters of people with polite nods and small smiles. "Alex," she hissed, leaning close, "you're standing here like a wallflower. These are movers and shakers, decision makers. You could pick up something about actual business operations." "I'm fine observing," I replied calmly, keeping my tone neutral. "That's exactly your problem," she snapped. "Always lurking at the edges, never immersing yourself. This is why you haven't been able to secure a conventional job." Her voice softened slightly, though the edge remained. "Look," she said, lowering her gaze briefly. Martin mentioned there might be a position at TechVision in IT support. Entry-level, sure, but a paycheck, health insurance, benefits. Want me to put in a good word? I'm good, thanks, I answered, unflinching. She sighed, exasperation flickering across her features. Alex, you're 36. Freelance work can't last indefinitely. At some point, you need security. Her eyes darted toward her colleagues, and embarrassment colored her expression. Honestly, every time someone asks what you do, I have to admit, you're still figuring it out. Before I could respond, Mom appeared, Dad trailing behind her. Girls, come on, a photo. Hannah's promotion is a milestone, she declared, arms wide. We posed stiffly, Hannah placing her arm over my shoulder in a gesture that felt more like a declaration of dominance than familial affection. I'm so proud of you, Hannah, Mom gushed, her voice brimming with admiration. VP at such a young age, in a company so prestigious. TechVision Media is leading the field in every respect. Thanks, Mom. 5 years of relentless effort finally recognized, Hannah said, her tone calm, measured. Dad's gaze lingered on me. Maybe Hannah could offer some career advice, Alex. She's clearly mastered the corporate ladder. I don't need guidance, I replied softly, eyes fixed elsewhere. Everyone could use counsel, Dad pressed gently. Pride is what keeps you stationary. Hannah's willing to assist, allow her. Jessica, one of Hannah's colleagues, approached with a bright smile. Hannah, congratulations again. Martin mentioned SVP consideration next year. This is just the beginning. That's the trajectory, Hannah said confidently, her posture unyielding. I have a 5-year roadmap, SVP by 37, suite by 40. That's what comes from dedication to a structured career path. Her implication was unmistakable, some people simply never commit. I arched a brow casually. And your company's revenue? Hannah blinked, a trace of surprise flickering across her expression. TechVision, last I checked, around $180 million annually. Why? I asked lightly, curiosity rather than challenge. Just evaluating the scope of your VP responsibilities. Her posture stiffened. It's a substantial role, she said defensively. I manage 43 team members across 3 departments. My budget is $12 million. That's genuine authority, authentic decision-making power. Impressive, I said, the sincerity quiet but deliberate. Martin returned, glancing at Hannah. We need photos with the executive team. Pleasure meeting you, Alex. Good luck with your tech endeavors. I watched them congregate, Hannah enveloped in attention, executives circling, laughter and congratulations filling the terrace. Mom and Dad's faces radiated pride, their attention fixed on the child who did everything according to the rules, the one who exemplified success. My phone vibrated. A message from my head of communications blinked on screen. Forbes confirmed. You're number 47 on their list. Article goes live tomorrow morning with acquisition announcement. PR campaign ready. Glancing at my watch, the time registered, 8:47 p.m. 13 hours until the world shifted, until everything transformed quietly behind the scenes. Hannah returned, cheeks flushed from champagne and admiration. Did you see that? She exclaimed, eyes wide. The executive team insisted on photos with me. That's influence, Alex. That's power. I smiled faintly, sip of club soda in hand, the hum of the party surrounding me. Influence, power, visibility, they were all tangible, measured, celebrated. And yet, somewhere beneath the glittering terrace and applauding crowd, I felt the quiet satisfaction of unseen victories, the subtle strength of achievements no one in the room could quantify or understand. That's what it looks like when people truly respect your work, Hannah said, her voice carrying across the terrace as she held her glass aloft. I'm happy for you, I murmured, keeping my tone neutral. You should be taking notes, she added, eyes gleaming with a mix of pride and condescension. This is what success actually looks like: recognition, upward mobility, admiration. Not hiding in some apartment, pretending to operate a business. I'm not pretending, I replied, though her words stung softly. Alex, come on, she continued, leaning slightly closer, her perfume mingling with the scent of champagne and city air. Everyone knows you're barely keeping it together. Mom mentioned you're still in that tiny studio, still driving that old Civic. Meanwhile, I just purchased a condo in the Marina district. Her comparison was precise, sharp, intended to provoke. The tiny studio was a modest loft I'd converted years ago, fully owned, modestly efficient, and functional, a space I'd crafted with my own hands over countless nights. The Civic. A practical 2018 model I'd bought outright because cars had never been more than transportation to me. Yet trying to explain these nuances to my family had long felt futile. Tech vision is expanding, Hannah went on, her tone animated. AI-driven marketing analytics, Martin says it's the next frontier. We're integrating with major technology providers, collaborating on platforms that will redefine data-driven strategies. Exciting, she said with a bright smile, scanning the crowd for applause or acknowledgement. Which platforms? I asked, voice steady, trying to mask my sudden tension. Oh, you wouldn't know them, she said dismissively. Enterprise-level software once called Prism Analytics. They're completely revolutionizing marketing automation, and we're their largest client. My stomach tightened. Prism Analytics. The company I had spent 9 years building in that same tiny loft, she mocked. My company. My creation. It sounded impressive on the surface, and I had managed it meticulously. The thought of my secret now woven into her boast filled me with a quiet, tense satisfaction. Martin believes this partnership could double our operational efficiency, she continued, voice dropping so only I could hear. Prism's technology is transformative. Between you and me, rumors are circulating that a major tech giant is about to acquire Prism. If that happens, our collaboration becomes even more valuable. Who's acquiring them? I asked carefully, mind racing. Not sure, she replied, glancing at her phone. Some big player. Official announcement tomorrow. Before I could respond, Hannah's attention was pulled elsewhere. Martin wants me for photos. Executive networking, Alex. Try to enjoy yourself. Even if you don't have career accolades, you can still participate. She drifted away, heels clicking against the terrace tiles, leaving me with nothing but my club soda and the concealed knowledge that my company, the one they all dismissed, was about to explode onto the national stage. Dad approached slowly, hands folded behind his back, expression measured. Alex, we need to have a serious conversation, he said, voice low but firm. Look at your sister. She followed the conventional path, climbed the ladder, and now she's reaping the rewards. You need to stop this freelance nonsense and secure a legitimate position. I have a job, I said, calm yet resolute. No, he countered sharply, what you have is a hobby that occasionally pays. I swallowed, tasting the bitterness in my mouth. Hobby. It was the word they used for 9 years of planning, coding, networking, sleepless nights, and calculated risks. Yet the irony was almost delicious. While they praised Hannah for visible accomplishments, they failed to recognize that the real leverage, the quiet dominance, was quietly flourishing under their radar. I sipped my club soda again, eyes scanning the terrace, the city lights glittering below, and felt a quiet thrill at the thought that by tomorrow, everything would change. Recognition, influence, and wealth were about to arrive silently, invisibly, on my terms. That's not the same thing, Dad insisted, his voice tight with frustration. Hannah has a clear career trajectory. You have uncertainty. His hand landed lightly on my shoulder, the touch meant to reassure but feeling more like a tether. It's not too late. You're intelligent. With Hannah's guidance, you could secure an entry-level position somewhere. Start building something tangible. I've already built something tangible, I said calmly, letting the words hang between us. He exhaled sharply, shoulders sagging. Alex, this delusion has persisted far too long. 9 years running a company none of us have witnessed, no office, no staff, no tangible proof of achievement. It's time to face reality. I pulled out my phone and opened my email, a faint smirk playing across my lips. Want to see proof? I asked. His brow furrowed. Not another website, or an app screenshot. I want tangible evidence. Pay stubs. Lease agreements. Employee lists. Something real. I swiped to the attachment I had been saving for this exact moment. The SEC filing scheduled to go public tomorrow glowed on the screen. How about this? His eyes narrowed, squinting. What am I looking at? Acquisition documents, I said, voice even. Filed today with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Summit Technologies acquired Prism Analytics for $3.2 billion, cash and stock. That's nice, he said, dismissively. But what does that have to do with? I'm the founder and CEO of Prism Analytics, I said quietly, letting the gravity sink in. I own 68% of the company. This acquisition values my personal stake at approximately $2.2 billion. His face froze, eyes widening. That's not funny, Alex. I'm not joking, I countered, scrolling down to the founder information. Alexandra Chin, founder and CEO. That's me. This is real. His voice cracked, disbelief etched in every syllable. Filed with the government. Yes. Goes public tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. Along with my Forbes profile. They ranked me 47th on their billionaires list. Forbes? He echoed faintly. Billionaires list. From across the rooftop, Hannah's voice carried, oblivious to the revelation unraveling beside her. The best part about the Prism partnership? We're their largest client. Priority access to all new features. Game-changing for TechVision. I met Dad's gaze. TechVision Media, Hannah's company, had been Prism's biggest client, until yesterday. Summit Technologies had restructured client relationships, consolidating focus on Fortune 100 accounts. TechVision no longer qualified. The partnership that Hannah had celebrated, touted as the future of their marketing strategy, would end in 60 days. Dad's hand trembled, voice almost a whisper. You're saying TechVision's partnership with Prism terminates? Exactly, I said, calm but firm. Summit's legal team notified the TechVision CEO this afternoon. Executives will be informed tomorrow morning. The timing coincides perfectly with the public announcement of the acquisition. He stared at me as if I had sprouted a second head. You're telling me, you, my daughter, whom we believed was unemployed, founded a multi-billion-dollar enterprise that has just been acquired, and that acquisition will decimate your sister's company? I let the silence stretch. The city below glittered innocently, unaware of the upheaval looming for TechVision, the carefully constructed facade of corporate security about to collapse. Dad's face had drained of color, eyes fixed on me like he was witnessing a storm he could neither stop nor comprehend. And all this time, I added softly, almost to myself, while they were measuring success by condo size, car model, or title, the real power was quietly growing under the radar. He swallowed hard, hand shaking, gaze flicking to the rooftop where Hannah laughed with colleagues, blissfully ignorant of the shift that would redefine everything she thought she controlled. I didn't devastate anything. Summit's decisions were calculated, cold, based purely on client profitability and strategic alignment. TechVision no longer fit the profile. But they didn't need to know that yet. You knew. I knew yesterday when the final papers were signed, the legal formalities completed in silent ceremony. Tonight, I simply followed the charade because Mom insisted on appearances, on family solidarity. Hannah materialized suddenly, her cheeks flushed from champagne and excitement. Alex, Dad, come on. Group photo. She exclaimed, dragging me toward the assembled executives. Martin had orchestrated the setup, ensuring that cameras captured every smile and every gesture that projected TechVision's commitment to work-life balance. The photographer guided us into position. Hannah took the center, radiating the very image of triumph, while I lingered at the edge, shoulders slightly hunched, expression carefully neutral. Everyone say promotion, the photographer shouted. A flash burst, freezing Hannah's gleaming smile and my tight-lipped presence in a permanent memory. Tomorrow, that image would carry weight she could no longer claim, a snapshot marking the last evening her visible accomplishments seemed superior. We drifted back to the bar, the noise of conversation and laughter swelling around us. Hannah was quickly engulfed in another discussion with senior directors and marketing leads, her voice animated, hands gesturing as if orchestrating an unseen symphony of success. I checked my watch. 9:23 p.m. Less than 12 hours until everything changed. Mom approached quietly, her expression softened by concern. "Alex, honey, I know tonight is difficult," she murmured, glancing at Hannah with obvious pride. "Watching your sister achieve so much while you're still finding your path, but your moment will come. Just keep striving." "Mom," I said, calm, eyes level with hers, "don't give up on reality. Hannah didn't arrive here overnight. She labored for years, paid dues, climbed every rung of the ladder. I've already built something real." Mom's lips pressed together, a faint sigh escaping. "If you just stop the freelancing, commit to something stable, you could follow her example." "I already have a real job," I said softly, voice steady but firm. Mom shook her head, almost mournfully. "You have a computer and hope. That's not the same. Look at Hannah, this is genuine success. Recognition, influence, financial security. That's what we hope for you as well." I slipped my hand into my pocket, feeling the vibration of my phone. A message from my lawyer illuminated the screen, all documents filed and verified. "Congratulations on the exit. Summit's press team ready for 9 a.m. sharp. You've built something extraordinary." The timing was impeccable, a quiet symphony orchestrated long before tonight. Above the hum of the rooftop crowd, Hannah's voice rang out again, triumphant and practiced. "I just want to thank everyone here tonight. TechVision is family, and with our incredible partnerships, especially with Prism Analytics, we are unstoppable. Here's to the future." Glasses clinked, cheers erupted, and the collective energy lifted her even higher. Her aura of confidence shone under the string lights, illuminating the success she had fought to achieve and the admiration it commanded. I lingered at the bar, silent, watching the performance unfold. Once the moment passed, I slipped away quietly, unnoticed in the swirl of champagne and laughter. I typed quickly to my assistant, "Prepare for tomorrow. Full media schedule ready. Have legal counsel on standby. Expect inquiries regarding TechVision's contract termination." Every step, every decision, had been planned with precision. Tonight was the final prelude, a calm before the storm. By morning, the world would wake to a new reality. The quiet empire I had built, invisible to family and peers, was about to eclipse every expectation, every assumption, every illusion of superiority Hannah and my parents had clung to for years. As I walked down the quiet city streets toward my car, the crisp night air brushing against my cheeks, my phone buzzed. The display read Martin Chin, TechVision CEO. "Alex Chin?" His voice carried tension, tight as a drawn wire. "I just received an email from Summit Technologies' legal department. It's confusing. References to an acquisition, contract terminations. It instructed me to contact you directly with any questions." I exhaled slowly, unshaken. "The acquisition closes tomorrow," I said evenly. Summit Technologies purchased Prism Analytics. They're restructuring client relationships. TechVision's contract will terminate in 60 days under Clause 7.3 of the partnership agreement. A long silence followed, punctuated only by distant city sounds. Finally, he asked incredulously, "Wait, you're the founder of Prism?" "Yes. But Hannah said you were unemployed. That you only did freelance coding. She doesn't know what I do." "Never asked. Never bothered," I replied quietly, letting the weight of the revelation settle in the space between us. "This can't be correct," Martin's voice faltered. "Prism Analytics is a multi-billion-dollar company. You've been running it, and your sister, she thought you were idle?" "That's correct," I confirmed, letting my gaze wander to the darkened streets. Martin hesitated, then pressed onward, desperation creeping in. "The termination, is there any way to negotiate? Prism is integral to our marketing infrastructure. Without it, we revert to manual processes. Months of efficiency lost." "Summit's criteria are firm," I replied evenly. "You may explore alternative marketing automation platforms. But other solutions are years behind Prism's technology." His voice cracked under the strain. "This will destroy us. Our competitive advantage vanishes overnight. Our campaigns, our client retention, everything. We'll be starting from scratch." "Then rebuild it," I said simply, closing the conversation as calmly as if we were discussing office supplies. That's business. I ended the call, sliding my phone into my pocket. The city lights blurred through the rain-speckled windshield as I drove home, leaving Hannah's celebration behind. The noise, the laughter, the clinking glasses, they all seemed distant, trivial, compared to the quiet power of what I had built. Morning arrived with a soft grey light spilling over the rooftops. At 9 a.m., the announcement hit every major outlet simultaneously. Headlines screamed across screens: Summit Technologies acquires Prism Analytics for $3.2 billion. Founder Alexandra Chin, 36, among youngest female tech billionaires. My phone erupted with notifications, texts, emails, missed calls, but I ignored them all. I brewed coffee, leaned against the counter in my apartment, and watched the coverage unfold calmly on the television. The CNBC anchor's voice was crisp, authoritative. Chin founded Prism Analytics 9 years ago in a modest studio apartment. The company revolutionized B2B marketing, now serving over 847 major clients. With a 68% stake, Chen's personal net worth is estimated at $2.2 billion, placing her 47th on Forbes' billionaire list. I let the words wash over me, savoring the quiet satisfaction. No cheers, no applause, no validation from family or colleagues, just the undeniable truth displayed for the world to witness. For 9 years, I had built an empire unnoticed, invisible, yet unstoppable. And now, finally, the world would know. My photo appeared on the television screen, the one from last month's Tech Summit, where I'd stood on stage in a black blazer, smiling for a camera I didn't want to face. The anchor's voice cut through the soft hum of the apartment. Alexandra Chin has maintained an unusually low profile for a founder of her caliber. Despite leading one of the most influential companies in data-driven marketing, she has rarely granted interviews or made public appearances. Today's acquisition has placed her in the global spotlight as one of the most powerful women in technology. I set the mug of coffee down on the counter, the steam curling into the air like a fading ghost. My phone began vibrating on the table. Hannah. I stared at her name for several seconds before letting it ring out. Then came Mom, then Dad, then Hannah again. The screen lit up over and over, each call more insistent than the last. When I didn't answer, the messages started arriving in rapid succession. Hannah, Alex, pick up the phone. Now. Dad, we need to talk immediately. Is this real? The news about Prism? Mom, please, call us. Everyone's asking questions. Then another from Hannah, her words frantic and uneven. Martin just fired me because of your company. What did you do? That last one made my chest tighten. Fired. I froze where I stood, the hum of the refrigerator suddenly deafening. My phone rang again, and before I could second-guess myself, I answered. You destroyed me. Hannah's voice cracked through the speaker, trembling between rage and disbelief. Martin fired me. He said there's a conflict of interest, that my sister owns our main tech partner. I didn't even know, Alex. How could I? You let everyone think you were unemployed. Her words tumbled over each other, sharp and breathless. Hannah, I said slowly, keeping my tone steady, TechVision's losing Prism access. Summit's restructuring. Your company fell below their profitability threshold. Her breath hitched. Our entire marketing division runs on Prism systems. Without it, we have nothing. You killed my career. My identity. 5 years of work, gone overnight because you couldn't tell your own family who you really were. I leaned against the counter, staring at the skyline outside the window. The city looked almost weightless, like a digital model waiting for input. I tried, I said softly. 9 years ago, when I told you I was building a company, you said it was a fantasy. 7 years ago, I invited you to the Series B celebration. You didn't show up. 5 years ago, I told you we'd landed enterprise clients, and you changed the subject. You never said it was Prism, she whispered, her tone caught between accusation and regret. You never said it was something this big. You never asked, I replied quietly. You decided I was a failure. That decision was convenient, so you never looked deeper. Silence stretched on the line, heavy and fragile. Then came her voice again, softer now, stripped of confidence. No company will hire me after this. Fired for hiding a conflict of interest I didn't even know existed. You could have warned me. You could have said something last night. While I was celebrating, while people were congratulating me. You knew. You knew, Alex. Would you have believed me? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. If I'd told you I owned Prism, would you have listened or laughed like every other time? She didn't answer. The quiet between us felt endless. You let me celebrate, she finally said, her voice breaking. You stood there watching me brag, knowing that by morning I'd have nothing left. How could you? The morning sunlight spilled into the apartment, warm and almost mocking. Notifications lit up my phone like a digital ticker tape, headlines, emails, text messages from reporters, investors, and strangers all at once. I ignored most of them, letting a slow, deliberate calm wash over me. Today the world would witness the scale of what I had built. Today, my secret would become undeniable. The doorbell rang. I glanced at the clock, 10:17 a.m. Reluctantly, I walked to the door to find my parents, visibly shaken, standing in the hall with a mixture of awe, disbelief, and residual pride in Hannah. Their eyes darted nervously toward the living room, where my laptop displayed live coverage of the Prism acquisition. Alex, we need to understand, Mom began, voice trembling. All these years, you were working? All of this? I gestured toward the screen. Yes. Every decision, every late night, every risk. 9 years of planning, coding, strategizing hidden in plain sight. Dad's hands clenched at his sides. We thought you were struggling. Hannah's always been the one climbing, making moves. We never imagined, he trailed off, eyes locking on mine. We were blind. I didn't make you blind, I said softly. You chose not to see. You judged, assumed, and dismissed me. I just let you live in that assumption. Mom's lip quivered, and she glanced down at the floor. We just wanted you to be happy, Alex, to be safe. We didn't know how to measure success when it didn't look like Hannah's. I let a small, ironic smile curve my lips. Success isn't what you see. It's what you build, quietly, until the world is forced to recognize it. Before they could respond, my phone buzzed again. It was a message from a major financial news outlet, requesting an interview with Alexandra Chin. Live broadcast scheduled for 11:30 a.m. I nodded, closing the laptop. I'll be on in an hour. If you want to witness the next chapter, sit tight. By mid-morning, the city streets were alive with murmurs about the acquisition. Reporters called my apartment, investors emailed, and social media exploded with speculation. Photos of Hannah from last night's rooftop event were circulating, juxtaposed against my own image now trending on every major platform. Her success was being reframed, overshadowed by a revelation she hadn't anticipated. Around 11:15, Hannah herself appeared at my door, dressed in the tailored power suit she wore to last night's celebration. Her expression shifted from confident to stunned the moment she saw the live news feed reflected in my apartment window. Alex, she whispered, her voice tight, lips pressed together. How? All this? I leaned casually against the counter, arms crossed. You didn't ask. You assumed. And assumptions have consequences. Her eyes darted to my laptop screen, then back at me, and I could see the color drain from her face. All these years, you were running a billion-dollar company. And I celebrated while her voice broke. Yes, I said simply. Last night, you thought you were the accomplished one. I let you have that. One final night of believing in your superiority before reality caught up. Hannah's hands trembled. Our marketing, tech vision, everything I built, gone. Because of you. It wasn't me, I said firmly. Summit made business decisions. Contracts ended. Your infrastructure is no longer tied to Prism. That's consequence, not sabotage. Her knees sagged slightly, and she sank onto the sofa, burying her face in her hands. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know if I can recover. My career, my identity, it feels gone. I sat across from her, tone gentle. You'll rebuild. You're intelligent, capable, and resilient. But next time, don't assume reality is defined by appearances or what someone tells you. Investigate. Listen. Ask. Mom and Dad lingered behind her, silent witnesses, absorbing the enormity of the revelation. The pride in Hannah's accomplishments was now tempered by the bitter taste of lost advantage, while my quiet victory hung in the air, undeniable and unyielding. By noon, reporters were outside my building, cameras poised, and the first live broadcast was beginning. I straightened my blazer, took a deep breath, and prepared to step into the spotlight. 9 years of secrecy, planning, and perseverance were about to be broadcast to the world. Hannah remained on the sofa, head down, silent. My parents hovered near the doorway, uncertain whether to intervene or simply watch. I smiled faintly, thinking how strange it was, how life could change in hours, how power could shift without a single blow, how the quietest victories were often the most devastating. And as I stepped outside, into the glare of cameras and the buzz of journalists, I realized one thing: the narrative had finally shifted. No one would ever underestimate Alexandra Chin again. The cameras were already trained on the building when I stepped onto the balcony. Journalists shouted questions through megaphones, flashes erupted like tiny explosions, and the street below was swarming with curious onlookers clutching smartphones. The buzz felt electric, almost tangible, and I breathed it in. This was the moment my years of planning crystallized into visibility. A news crew hustled forward. "Ms. Chin, Alexandra, can we get a statement about today's acquisition?" the reporter called, voice cracking over the din. I raised a hand, signaling I was ready, and felt the pulse of the crowd pressing closer, hungry for answers. Inside, Hannah paced frantically, heels clicking against the hardwood floor. She clutched her phone as if it were a lifeline, refreshing emails, texts, and Slack messages simultaneously. "This is a disaster," she muttered under her breath, voice sharp and trembling. "I've got board meetings, press calls, projections. How could this happen?" Mom and Dad hovered nervously near the doorframe, their expressions oscillating between awe and worry. I could see their hearts battling between pride in my achievements and concern for Hannah's unraveling career. I took a step toward Hannah. "It's business," I said quietly, voice calm but firm. Summit's decision was based on strategy and numbers, not emotion. "You'll need to reassess priorities, pivot, adapt." Hannah spun around, eyes wide and glistening. "Pivot? Adapt? Alex, my VP role, my team, my projects, all of it is tied to Prism. Without it, everything collapses. Everyone's going to see me as incompetent." "You weren't incompetent," I replied evenly. "You were unprepared for reality beyond what you could control. Assumptions rarely protect anyone from the truth." She sank into the nearest chair, head in hands, muttering incoherently. I can't believe this. I thought I was untouchable, invincible. And you were playing quietly the entire time. All these years, secretly building an empire, while I was convinced I was the one who'd made it." "I wasn't playing," I said softly. "I was creating. You were climbing, I was constructing. 2 paths. One was visible, one was invisible. Both had stakes, but only one could be undone by a single contract clause." Her gaze shot up, wild and desperate. "You let me think I was winning. You let me celebrate last night while knowing I'd lose everything by sunrise. I gave you closure," I said. "One final night where you could feel accomplished before reality intervened. It's the only mercy I could afford you." The phone on the table buzzed again. A push notification lit the screen. Breaking: TechVision Media loses access to Prism Analytics following Summit acquisition. Hannah snatched it up and froze, eyes scanning the lines in disbelief. Her fingers trembled, tapping rapidly on the screen. Mom reached for her hand. "Sweetheart, it's not the end. You can rebuild. You're talented. You've always been talented." Hannah pulled away sharply. "Not talent, Mom. Timing, opportunity, connections. I had everything aligned and now it's gone." I exhaled slowly. "Everything is never guaranteed. You were operating on borrowed leverage. Prism was a tool, not an extension of your capability." The news outside reached a fever pitch. Reporters pushed microphones forward. Ms. Chin, can you comment on TechVision's position after the Prism acquisition? Cameras whirred, phones flashed. Investors tweeted and shared speculation live. Headlines already circulated. TechVision faces strategic collapse as Prism Analytics moves to Summit Technologies. Alexandra Chin becomes one of youngest female tech billionaires. Hannah's phone rang again, her assistant this time, and she froze mid-step. Alex, what do I tell them? The board, the team, the press? You tell them the truth, I said firmly. Strategic partnerships shift. Companies adapt. Your role isn't over, you need to pivot, reassess, and respond. Panic won't solve anything. She sank onto the couch again, face pale, fingers clenching the phone like a lifeline. I've never felt so exposed. So powerless. Everyone's watching, Alex. Investors, clients, colleagues, all of them are going to see me fall. And maybe that's exactly what you need, I said softly. The fall is temporary. How you recover will define you more than any promotion ever could. Your success will be measured by resilience, not the illusion of invincibility. She looked at me then, the first trace of clarity breaking through the storm in her eyes. You actually think I can come back from this? I know you can, I said, voice steady. But it won't be easy, and it won't be instant. You'll need humility, strategy, and hard work, the things that never appear in photos or press releases. Outside, the cameras continued to flash. Headlines continued to spread. And for the first time, Hannah realized that her sister, the one she had assumed powerless, invisible, and inconsequential, had quietly orchestrated a narrative that no one could ignore. And I, finally, could step fully into the world I had created, calm and unshaken, while the people who had underestimated me learned, all at once, the real meaning of success.